There's more political scandal across the front pages this morning following claims of inappropriate behaviour by former Deputy Chief Whip Chris Pincher. Well, back in April, we were all talking about my next guest, Neil Parish. He was a Conservative MP who resigned after being caught watching porn in Parliament. Well, former MP Neil Parish joins me now. Thank you for coming in. But all of us just saying, what were you thinking? What were you thinking?
I think there's moments of madness in your life, and this was one of them. And of course, you know, one has plenty of time to regret afterwards. But
I'm sure,
you know,
I'm sure.
I did the right thing. I've apologised, and I left Parliament. I should have done it even quicker than I did. I think I went into sort of denial, really,
right.
And I think I went into shock. And I just thought, well, you know, perhaps if I pretend it hadn't happened, it hasn't happened. I also wanted to be able to apologise to the two women concerned because, you see, I never intended to flaunt it in front of anybody. I wasn't proud of what I was doing. I knew I was wrong what I was doing, and it was a weakness in my character. But I promise you, and my wife will back me up on that, who's a great support, I don't flaunt, I really don't.
So this is what we don't understand and what I don't understand. First of all, looking at your phone in your place of work. Never mind what you were looking at your phone. This feels very strange when you're supposed to be listening to the debates that are going on.
But you see, it wasn't during a debate. It was 11:30 at night and we were voting. And
right.
I was right in the corner. I wasn't actually in a part of the chamber where you can ask a question from, waiting to go in to vote. So in between votes, you have about 10 minutes and you wait for the next vote and you queue up by the door to get back into the voting chamber. So you see, the trouble is, one of the problems with Parliament and the voting system is I'm afraid, you know, it's no justification, but I got bored. And
right.
You see, look at your phone. I did used to look at tractors and cars during votes.
But how do you go from tractors to porn? This is what we don't understand.
It was linked, but you know, and the website was linked. But naturally, I'm not going to say so because I don't want others to go on to the horrible site.
Right.
I mean, I know people make fun of me, and I'm the tractor porn man. But you know, I promise you that was the case. But like I said, my mistake and why I went was I went back on a second time.
Yeah, you went back to look at it again.
Exactly.
That was the thing.
That's what I'm guilty of.
But when you knew that you were found out, that feeling that you had initially, you didn't say right away, yes, it was me. Was that like what you said? You were trying to sort of like pretend it hadn't happened?
Yes, I freely admit that, Lorraine. But also, I think, like I said, I was hoping that I could be able to sort it out, you know, whether rightly or wrongly, apologise, and for it not... I mean, it would never have happened again, as you can imagine. So, you know, I'm not justifying again, and I was right to resign. But, you know, that was the key, and that's why, you know, I was hoping. But, you know, in the end, talking to my wife, who's been hugely supportive with me over the years, she knows I'm no angel. In fact, she chases me around the kitchen with the scissors going snicker snack, knowing full well what part of my anatomy she's after. So, you know, I mean, she knows what I like.
But you must have had to have a very awkward conversation with your wife. I mean, you've clearly, you know, like you've said, that she knows what you're like. She accepts that, I guess. But that conversation must have been very difficult.
Yes, and I think what it was, I mean, she's been hugely supportive. She comes up with me, or she came up with me all the 12 years I was here in Parliament, helped me in the office, helped trying to keep me on time, which is people knowing me as the late Neil Parish was always my name. And so, you know, she's done so much with me. And so naturally, on the morning that I decided to resign, it was her advice I took. It was my children, our son and daughter, both very, very sound advice. And in the end, do you sort of twist and turn? Do you tell lots of fibs? Or do you go reasonably cleanly? And I decided to go cleanly.
Do you think that the Prime Minister has to take some sort of responsibility for the conducts of Tory MPs? Because it's not just you. I mean, there's more in the papers today, because he doesn't exactly lead by example, does he? Do you feel that?
A little bit of that, and I think also, you see, dear Boris, he's good on the big things, on the vaccines, on Ukraine, and seeing down the murderous Russians. But you see, it's about trust and integrity, and you see this latest thing with Christopher Pincher. I mean, one day he says, well, I didn't know what his behaviour was like. And then you've got Dominic Cummings say, well, of course, he used to say Pincher by name, Pincher by nature. That was his nickname for him. I mean, why, you know, I love Boris to bits in many ways, but why tell a fib when you know full well, you know, 24 hours later, it's going to be refuted when lots of MPs and the public are worried about the Prime Minister.
This seems to be
integrity.
The culture, though, because
Yeah.
you didn't fess up right away.
No.
We've got people not confessing right away. We've got people conducting themselves in this manner. You can understand why people generally are appalled by the state of politics in this country.
Yeah.
Don't you think we deserve better?
Yes, you do. And that, why, albeit a little bit late in the day, I believe I made the right decision. And you see, others need to do the same. And it's a terrible decision to have to make because, you know, I mean, I had a good political career and I love Parliament. You know, I mean, I got in there 12 years ago and I used to say good morning to everybody like a country boy does. And they all looked at me as though I was mad. But after a few years, they were all saying good morning back to me. I loved the doorkeepers, all those people, you know, providing food in the canteens. I used to tease them and say, where's the meat from? And they used to always say it was from Somerset or Devon or from the West Country. I dare say it probably wasn't. But, you know, it was good banter. The doorkeepers, you know, on how many votes because they know what the Labour whip is because you're very much down to what the Labour Party divides the government on. So all of those things, of course, I miss hugely. And I think, to be honest with you, once some people have got over, you know, my terrible behaviour, I think they will miss me also.
So what do you want to do now? What can you do now? Can you rebuild your reputation, do you think? Are you counting out any sort of public life?
I'm not counting out any sort of public life because, you see, I think the British public and my voters, and certainly when I went to the Devon County show, I had lots of people, you know, treating me exactly the same, which was lovely for my trying to build some self-esteem back. And so I think, yes, I think there is a role, especially on food, farming, food security. We need to produce more food.
But will people take you seriously, though? That's the thing.
Oh, I think they will, because I had a very serious political career, albeit I ended it in a terrible, frivolous way, if you like, and a bad way. But, you see, I also worked a lot with Fair Share, distributing food to the most needy. So, you know, I'm thinking of setting up a website, something like Feed the Nation, because on that way I could not only deal with how we produce food, both environmentally but also good food production, along how do we distribute more to those that really need it. Animal welfare, all of those things that I've dealt with all my life. You know, I'm hugely behind the extra sentencing, 5 years for those that are cruel to animals, because it was only 6 months before. All sorts of things that I've managed to sort out over my time. And so, you know, you've got to get out there and you've got to come back. And, you know, I mean, I like...
Don't you have those moments, though, especially those moments when you wake up in the middle of the night thinking, oh, I can't believe that I did that?
I have them every morning, and I don't. My sleep pattern is not what it was. I've lost quite a lot of weight, but I don't recommend it as a way to lose weight. But you know, all of these things. You see, when you've made a huge mistake, you do have to live with it, and you do have to accept what you've done. And my wife says you've got to accept you are now the tractor porn MP, and you know that is something you've got to deal with. But you see, I'm still a man who can engage with people. I'm a very good chair of a meeting because I can jolly people along. I'm a very good scrutineer because I held the ministers to account. I think that was partly one of the reasons why I wasn't saved very much by the party, because I think I was probably a little bit too independent. So there's an independent streak in me which I may be able to build on. I don't know whether I will do that, but you see, I'm a great believer in using your talents. And all right, I've wasted a huge number of them now, but do I just go back into a box and say, well, that's it, all over? Or do I try to rebuild something? Do I try, you know, to do something with the media? Who knows? I don't know. But well, I'm just throwing things, all sorts of things are going round in my mind. I
can understand that completely. And fair play to you for actually coming in and talking to me, because, you know, that takes something to do that. And for confessing to the fact that you did it and you're embarrassed and all of these things. Neil, thank you very much.
And thank you for having me. It's therapeutic.
Therapeutic. I've never been called therapeutic before, but I'll take that. Thank you very much indeed. Don't forget, you can watch full episodes of Lorraine on the ITV Hub and all the best clips, compilations and playlists right here on our channel. Just subscribe now and you'll never miss an upload. Click here to watch another video similar to this one, or click here to head to our channel's homepage to explore all of our exciting videos.